There's no such thing as a secret sin. Anything you do in secret is going to come to light. I don't care how dark the night was. I don't care if you park the car way under the shadows. At 12 midnight, every secret thing will come to light. I don't care if you go all the way to Sotez and you rent a room up there, it's going to come out one day. I don't care what you do, you steal the man's BlackBerry phone, or you change the SIM card, it's still going to come out one day. Anything you do in secret will come to light. Come on and say amen out there. Good things done in secret will come to light. And dark things done in secret will also come to light. Jesus turned around and Jesus asked a question. Now hear the question Jesus asked. Who touched me? Did I describe the crowd to you? Yes. Did I tell you the size of the crowd? Now, Brother Hosford, you're in a crowd like that? And Jesus asked him, who touched me? Oh, no, Peter and James and said, but Master, I mean, look at the crowd. And Master is asking, who touched me? You see, they were thinking of an ordinary touch. But Jesus wasn't talking about an ordinary touch. You see, you can be in the same congregation with your brethren and they are getting a special touch and you're not getting one. Because you have locked your heart with sin. And other people are being touched and they're receiving their healing and their blessing. And you walked out of the church just as dry as you walked in. Because you have locked your door with your love for sin. You have your darling sins and your secret sins. And they lock the door and you can't get your blessing. And when others are saying amen. And when others are feeling good, you wonder what's wrong with them. The point is that they're getting a different type of touch. Jesus said, I'm not talking about who bumped into me. I said, who touched me? Because I perceive that virtue is gone out of me. Now, I don't know why the King James translators use the word virtue, because when I look it up in the Greek, that word from which the word virtue is translated is the word dunamis, from which you get the English word dynamite. What Jesus was saying is that something come out of me, and it was like dynamite, and it ignited somebody's life. Who touched me? The woman, thinking that she was in trouble, Ellen White said she tremblingly turned around and she felt, oh, I'm in trouble. But she was in no trouble. She was in no trouble at all. Because it was Jesus who healed her. But Jesus didn't want her to leave thinking that it was some superstition that has happened, something in the thread or whatever. Jesus wanted her to leave knowing what precisely had taken place. That it was his power at work. So Jesus said, who touched me? And she said, oh, I'm sorry. And she started to recount all the things that she had been through from various doctors. And Jesus said, my dear sister, go in peace. Thy faith has made thee whole. Now, I say two things and then I take my seat. Is that all right? Say two things more, then I take my seat. Number one, I find it rather interesting that the disciples were puzzled when Jesus asked, who touched me? I would have thought that being the helpers of Jesus, it was their duty to find a weak, sick woman and bring her to Jesus. What were they doing that they were so busy? Never saw a poor, bleeding, sick woman wanting to come to Jesus. They never saw what was their duty to have seen, and so they were asking, what's wrong with the master? You know, I think of modern day disciples. There are hundreds of people dying in sin every day, and we are unconcerned. We're going now over to Petersfield to preach the gospel. How many of us are really interested? Let me tell you something. The woman in the story, she represents humanity today. Humanity is bruised and bleeding. They are shackled by gay lifestyle and cocaine addiction and all sorts of problems. I talked to a lady in my office this week at Church Street, and she showed me where she cut her wrist to commit suicide. I spoke to another lady not too long ago, and she told me the story that she's trying to kill herself because her life is a wreck. I've seen people on the streets of New York, Kingston, Kingston, Port of Spain, and even right here in Grenada, who have no hope at all. Their lives are miserable. They have to take sleeping pills to go to bed at night because they have no hope and no peace in their lives. They are bruised and battered and bleeding. I say, where are the disciples? In Mexico, one young man came home from work. He said to his wife, honey, pray for me. I have a burden on my heart for souls. And then she prayed with him and he said, you know, I'm going down the road. I need to talk to somebody. Brother Antoine, he said, I gotta go. I gotta talk to somebody. Knock to the door. There was no answer. He knocked again. Still no answer. And he knocked a third time. But this time, he made that knock a little longer than the previous two. As he kept knocking, finally, the door was flung open. And a rough-looking woman came out. And she said, what do you want? And he said, oh, you know, I'm sorry, madam, to disturb you. And he smiled. He said, you know, but I have a burden in my heart, and there is something I'd like to share with you. You know, God has been good to me, and I'd just like to take a few minutes just to share something with you. I apologize for disturbing you, but if you don't mind, I just want to share something with you just for a few minutes. She looked at him. And she said, okay, come in. And he sat down with that woman. This is a true story. And he poured out his heart to her. He poured out his heart and he told her about a man from Galilee. He told her, it doesn't matter what you have done, if you're willing to give up the past, Jesus is willing to take your hand. Yes. If you're willing to go forward, Jesus will give you a brand new life. And as he talked to her about Jesus, the woman broke down and she started crying. And he said, get down on your knees. And she got on her knees. And he prayed for her. He prayed for her. And when he was finished praying and they got up, she was wiping her eyes. And she said, come here. And she took him by the hand. And she was taking him further in the house. And he was wondering where on earth she was taking him. And she took him to the bathroom. And she showed him the rope tied in the ceiling with the noose. She said, when you knocked on my door, I was putting the noose around my neck to commit suicide. Because my life has been a burden. But thank you for telling me about Jesus. Amen. Where are the disciples? We're going to Petersfield. We need to evangelize the whole world, all of Grenada. Yes. Jesus is depending on us. Yes. To find the bruised and bleeding ones and take them to him, because Jesus has the healing power. What you say again? Yes. Finally, as I reflect on this, I realize that it won't be long now before Jesus steps in and put an end to all of the suffering. I want to declare to you that Jesus is coming soon. The entire planet is bleeding. We see from the Copenhagen conference and from the United Nations Climate Change Conference that this earth is dying. Suffering is all over. But I want to let you know we can't give up because Jesus is coming again. In just a little while, we shall see Jesus. In just a little while, there's going to be a little cloud, Sister Gordon, about the size of a man's hand. It's going to be somewhere in the eastern sky. And when that cloud appears, God's children, we're going to be hiding because there would have been a national Sunday law, there would have been persecution, and God's people would have been in the hills. We're going to look like a pitiful group, but let me tell you, we're going to be under the protection of the Almighty. We're going to look like we are forsaken and forgotten, but we are going to be under the watch care of Jesus. It's going to look like we are like the woman bleeding and battered, but let me tell you, we're going to be under the control of the Spirit of God. And when they think they're going to kill us, somebody's going to say, look up at the eastern sky.